Hi, Faith and Joe. This devotion is for you guys, and today is September 10, 2016. Mommy is in Mommy's prayer room. As you can see, my Bible. And I just wanted to go over Deuteronomy 6, verse 5 through 10. It says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, all of your soul, and all of your might. And these words I will command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children. You shall talk of them when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down and when you rise. You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as a frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them down on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." And this is a Bible verse that the Lord has been showing me for a year now. And this is the reason why in the last year we've been talking about God every single moment that we have. If it's not a morning devotion, it's an evening devotion. It's always prayer time, and sometimes mommy laughs on it. But what I've been doing is, because God has placed this Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5 to 9 in my heart. He's been teaching me, they are my children. I need you to instill these Bible, my love. I need you to instill this into your children, my children, right? Because you two are God's children as well. And he's been telling me that. He's been stirring my heart. He's been working in my heart. He's been telling me, Mommy, you need to work. You need to invest in your children. You need to teach and discipline and disciple my children. You need to train them. You need to show them that the greatest commandment is to love your God with all of your heart, soul, and might and strength. And that's a theme that we've been covering for the last year or two, maybe 2 years. And I've just been focusing so much more with you two on making sure that you love God, making sure that above anything else, that you love God with all of your heart, soul, and mind, and that is the number one thing we live for, is to love God completely. And when you understand that, you obey God, you listen to God, you can hear him so much more, and you have so much more life, and you enter into this new life with God. And I just want to remind you guys why we do our devotions, why we talk about God, why mommy is always teaching you, always discipling you, always disciplining you, that you should honor your God, that you should choose righteousness, that you should choose the good decisions. God has placed it in my heart like never before. When your daddy was here and mommy and daddy was married, I did not have this in my heart yet, and you guys were still very young. We prayed and stuff like that, but to really have this embedded in my heart, it wasn't until the last 2 years. I said 1 year earlier, but it's actually the last 2 years that God has given me this Bible verse. God has put in my heart first, and then God gave me this Bible verse that I should teach you, Faith, and Josiah, to love the Lord with all of your heart, soul, and might. And I pray that as you're older and you watch this video, you remember the times that we did devotion, the times we're in the car and we're listening to Bayside's morning devotions, and mommy's, talking to you, explaining to you, the times that we're in mommy's prayer room, and not just mommy's prayer room, but your prayer room, that we were in here. We were reading the Bible. We were listening to what God was saying. We were praying for those on your prayer board. Remember your prayer board? This is your prayer board. Faith and Joe's prayer board. And this is mine, which is kind of off. But this is our prayer board. And when we're in here, we're talking about, what do you think God wants you to pray about? And I remember each of you had your specifics. Faith, she was so good. She would always pray for Nadea and Jan. She would always pray for her teachers, her cousins, her Yotzi to come to believe in Jesus, and that her teacher would be nice. Josiah would always pray for the poor people. Josiah has a heart for the poor people, and he always prays that they would have food, they would have money, they would have a mommy and a daddy. Josiah would always pray for Yotzi as well. Yotzi is one of the person that he really, really wants to believe. He wants Yotzi to believe in God. And that's one of the people that you pray for as well. And of course, you guys always pray for mommy, because mommy's always upset with you too. And you guys always pray for me that I would have patience, that I would have self-control. And I would always pray for you two, that you two would always not just love God and know that God is your father, but you two would know God intimately, that you know that God is your best friend and that you can go to him for anything and everything. And I always pray that you two would have wisdom, have intelligence. You two would listen to God, hear God, and choose righteousness, choose goodness, and above all, that you too and my name would be written in stones in heaven, that Lord would call us into a great calling. Not just mommy, but Faith and Josiah would have a great future calling, and that the Lord would bring them into it by me, by everybody else who are discipling and teaching you to. So I just wanted to do a quick devotion. I wanted to remind you guys why we must love the Lord our God with all of our heart, all of our soul, and all of our mind, because that is God's greatest commandment. He does not want an idol before him. He doesn't want you to love money more than God. He doesn't want you to love Pokemon more than God. He doesn't want you to love Shopkins more than God. And he doesn't want mommy to love a future husband, or he doesn't want mommy to love other things before God. It must be God first, and then your spouse, and then your children, and then everybody else around. But it always has to be God first. So I wanted to encourage you guys that no matter what's going on in life, how old you are right now, when you guys watch this video, that mommy has tried mommy's best to teach you God's greatest commandment, and to always honor and abide by what he says, to love your God with all of your heart, soul, and mind. I love you, babies.